Hello everyone, welcome to Constitution of India's video. My name is Lakshmi Kushwaha and in today's session we are going to learn the directive principles of state policy. You must have heard about the fundamental rights, that there are a number of the fundamental rights which are given to the citizens of India. So the fundamental rights are justiciable. It means what? If someone stops you from practicing the fundamental rights, you can approach the court. But directive principles of state policies are non-enforceable rights. Non-enforceable rights in the sense you cannot go against this to the court. If these are not full, you cannot approach the court. So these are specifically the guidelines which are given to the federal government. Now, federal here means the central as well as the state government. So these are the guidelines given to the federal government in order to use the principles while they are formulating the legislations, laws, rules, and policies so that they can create a liberal and justice, or you can say a society which is based on the justice. Right. So now let's see this directive principles of state policy in detail, how it affects the legislations. So directive principles of state policies is given in part 4, covering the articles of 36 to 51. Very important to remember the part and the articles. So what is directive principles of state policy? They are the guidelines or the 15 principles given to the federal institutes. Now federal institutes here mean state and the central government. Federal institutes governing the state of India to be kept in citation while framing the laws and policies. So there are number of the articles right from 36 to 51. For example, 43 is the article which says about workers' participation in management, which was introduced in the latest amendment. So this 43A, this 43 article says that workers has to be allowed to participate in the management. It is very important for their growth as well as the establishment or company's growth. So while framing the legislation, the central government under the Industrial Dispute Act has introduced a provision of work committee, right? Section number 3 of Industrial Dispute Act, which talks about work committee. This work committee is nothing but a association or a committee which consists of equal number of representatives of employee and employer, and they try to settle down the dispute between the employee and employer. Fine. So somewhere this article 43, which is the part of directive principles of state policy, has been used while framing the legislation. So this is what the directive principles of state policy says. Just like Industrial Dispute Act, we have Factories Act. Under Factories Act, there is a safety committee. The safety committee also has got equal number of employee and employer representative. Again, it is following the article number 43. So while framing this laws, while framing this legislation, the central government has made sure that it is using the directive principles, using those principles while framing them. Now, next point is directives are unenforceable rights. Unenforceable, I said you cannot approach the government. So see, if it is workers' participation, now it is binding. It has been made binding or legal by this two legislation, India and your Industrial Dispute Act and your Factories Act. But what if the central government wouldn't have introduced this? नहीं करती introduce तो क्या करते हम? We cannot go against this to the court. We cannot. That is right. It should be given. But if they are not given, we cannot approach the court. So hence it is called as unenforceable rights. It states if the state fails to fulfill any obligations, one cannot go to the court. But the principles laid down there is considered in the governance of the country. We are using them in the governance of the country, or central government or state government are using them while framing the legislation, and it makes the duty of the state to apply this principle in making the laws to establish just society in the country. The principle, now our Indian constitution has got number of the provisions or number of the content which has been inspired from the different countries. So directive principles of state policies has been taken up from the constitution IR, which are related to social justice, economic welfare, foreign policy, legal and administrative matters. Now, what is the objective of this directive principles of state policy? Why these principles need to be followed? Why they need to be used in governance of the country? The reason is, when you are using these principles while framing laws and policies, it helps to develop high ideals of justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Justice is every person is equal, need equally. Liberty, freedom, every person has that right, has that freedom to get associated and so on. Equality, everyone should be treated equally. Fraternity, brotherhood. Directive principles are called as instrument of instructions enumerated in Government of India Act 1935, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has described the directive principles as the instrument of instruction. Okay, let's move to now. It starts, so that DPSP starts from the article number 36. What is article number 36? It just defines the state. So it is the same as that of part 3. So part 3 defines the state. What do you mean by state? Definition of this definition in this part, unless the context otherwise require, the state has the same meaning as that of the part 3. So it says the state, whatever is applied in the part 3, the same applies here. Article 37 is very important. Actually, this article lays down that it shall be the duty of the state to apply this directive in making this make responsibility of the state to make sure that while they are framing the laws, they are using these directives. Now, as such, the Indian Constitution, there is no classification of the directive of state policy, but yes, depending upon their content, direction, they can be classified into broad categories as socialistic, Gandhian, and liberal intellectual principle. So, socialistic principles covers the article 38, 30, 39, 41, 42, 43, 43A, 47. To study what do you mean by socialist is about everything about understanding the welfare of the person, understanding his society needs and all. Then we have Gandhian principle. Gandhian principle again based on non-violence, based on the equal participation, concerning for even for the lowest part of the society, giving the importance to backward society, backward people in the society. So this articles are 40, 43, 43, 46, 47, 48. This liberal and intellectual principle means the freedom, which article 44, 45, 48, 48A, 49, more of give respect to India, whatever monuments we have, whatever धरोहर जो हमारे भारत की कही जाती है, like old buildings, right, Red Fort, Taj Mahal, and so on, respecting them, forest life, and so on. This is the liberal intellectual principle. So now let's see them little bit detail. Socialistic principles. This principle reflect the ideology of socialism. Means what? Creating a framework or a democratic socialist state. When I say democratic, our India is democratic country. Means what? It means that first thing, we have the federal government. Second, in India we select our own leader. We have elections, we have secret ballot and all. So it's democratic means even the public, even the normal people have the rights to give their points. So it is democratic, creating democratic socialist state, aiming at providing social economic justice and set path towards the welfare state. So it is creating a welfare state. It is defined, or Indian Constitution has defined India as in welfare state. Now, what is welfare state? Why it is called as welfare state? Because it is believed that in India, we have such legislation, such rules, such laws and policies which take care of the people or Indians who are born in India right from their birth till their death. So we have number of the provisions in Indian legislations or in the, you can say, constitutions also, like Maternity Benefit Act. So this is the legislation which takes care about giving the maternity benefit to the woman when she is in the maternity. So even before and after taking care, the most, you can say, maintaining the dignity of the woman, taking the care of her and providing her the help or economic help when she is not able to work and she require most care of her life. So we have right from birth till the death. So even after the death, we have the funeral expenses. This is given in our ESIC Act as well as it is given in our Employee Compensation Act. So funeral expenses are also given to the employees for their family if someone dies. And even after the death, the dependents are given the certain economic help. So right from the birth till the death, in India, we have number of the legislation which works for the welfare of the person. Hence, the India has been regarded as the welfare state by Indian Constitution, and these articles, the socialist principle or the principles mentioned under the socialist principles are working towards making India welfare state. So Article 38(1), important. What does it give? That state means every country, every government shall strive to promote welfare of the people by securing and protecting a social order in which justice, social, economic and political. So whenever you frame the rules, laws and regulations, they would be justified economically, socially and politically, and shall inform all the institutions of national life, and it should be informed to everyone. Article 39, we have studied Equal Remuneration Act. I hope you must have gone through the video. We have already completed this. So in the Equal Remuneration Act, I have given the article. I have told you the Article 39 talks about providing the equal remuneration to men and women irrespective of their sex if they are working in similar work of similar nature. So that is the creating the economic justice. जब हम एक men और female employee को इक्वल पे प्रोवाइड करते हैं इक्वल वर्क के लिए, मतलब क्या, हम उनके लिए इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. So Article 39 talks about creating an economic justice, especially require the state to direct the policy towards securing equal right for men and women to educate, means of livelihood, equal pay for both work for men and women. So Equal Remuneration Act is not just about remuneration. It's also talk about providing equal opportunity in the you can say training, promotion, transfer and everything, recruitment and everything. Men and women should be treated equally. Now basis of this are new codes of wages. So new codes of wages which have came into the existence since the transgender has been now declared as the third gender. Using this article of creating an economic justice, our new codes of wages has now included a third gender, means the equal remuneration should be provided for equal pay for equal work to men, women and the third gender. So all the genders should be paid equally. So in our old legislation also, in our new legislation also, we have the economic justice concept. Next important under this article is to protect the health of the workers and children are given the opportunities and facilities to develop healthy manner and protected against the exploitation and moral and material abandonment. This is used in our Child Labor Act, Child and Adolescent Regulation and Abolition Act. So now under child labor, the child who is below the 14 years is completely prohibited to work in any of the organizations. And it is under the article where it is said that right of education has to be given to every child, or the elementary education till this 6 years has to be completely free. So again this article has been used in our Child Labor Act. Even the Factories Act state that no child would be allowed to work in hazardous process. So number of the legislation in India are using this article in the form of the principle. So like this is the question, which one of the following is not covered under the Article 39 of Indian Constitution? So equal pay is there, protection for childhood is there, citizen men equally have the right to educate, means of livelihood, this is there. Securing just and human condition, this is not there, this is in another article, will be coming to that. Now, Article 30A was the amendment of 94th Amendment, has given a provision for equal justice and free legal aid to the economically backward classes. We have economically backward classes, right? If they have any cases pending in the court or anything which is pending in government sector or private sector, they can get a free legal aid. They can get a free legal help from the government regarding that. Article 41, right to work, education, public assistance in case of unemployment, old age, sickness and disablement. Now, you know the social security. No, the social security is a term which is believed, which is said that social security is something which is given to the employee when he is at the old age, sickness, disablement, unemployed. That is the benefit given to the employee. Now, this social security can be of the two types: social insurance, your insurance, and your social assistance. So, what is assistance? Assistance which is completely given by government. These schemes or the benefits are completely assisted by the government, and social insurance is where the employee and employer has to make the contribution. So this assistance, we have the legislations like your maternity benefit, like your employees compensation act. This is the assistance. They are the social assistance legislation. So such kind of legislations which are called as social assistance are based on the Article 41. What is Article 41? That right to work, right to education and right to public assistance in case of person is unemployed, old age, sickness, disablement. So it is the responsibility of state that within its limit and economic capacity, it would make an effective provision for securing right to work, education, public assistance, and hence we have the number of the legislation which came into the existence. So Article 42 talks about just and human condition of the work. We have protective legislations, or we call them as the preventive legislation. See, labor legislations are of four types: protective, your regulative, your social security, and your welfare. Now, what are protective? Those legislations which has got the provisions for health, safety, and welfare. And this health, safety, welfare provisions are nothing but based on the Article 42. Like, we have Factories Act. Under Factories Act, hazardous processes separately defined, that safety measures need to be given to the employee. Proper drinking facilities, proper sitting arrangement has to be given to the employee. So it means that every single employee working in the organization or establishment is as in human, should be given just and humane condition to work, right? Humane condition to work. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए that being a human, I need to be safe. I need to be given safety. So if I am working at any top high level area, I need to be given safety measures, safety precautions. So because it's my right to work in just and humane condition. People working underground under the mines, they are given the safety measures, right? So our Factories Act, our Mines Act, Plantation Act, our Contract Labor Act, Interstate Migrant Act, all those are based upon the just and human working conditions. Then comes your, this is also somewhere related to your maternity. Maternity benefit is also related to just and condition. One. Then comes your Article 43, living wage of the workers. Now, what is living wage of the workers? See, we know, we have studied, I have shared the videos of minimum wages and the payment of wages. The Minimum Wages Act or the legislation came into the existence with the objective of providing minimum, kuch na kuch, minimum wages to employees. So earlier, when in 19th century, where industries were growing and industries were developing, the employees were really exploited. They were not given the wages on time, neither they were given the complete wages. So in order to remove that evil factor, the Minimum Wages Act came into the existence with the recommendation of Fair Wage Committee and your Royal Commission. Now this Fair Wage Committee has defined the wages into three types: living wage, your fair wage, and your minimum wage, or it is also called as subsistence wage. So minimum wage or subsistence wages, the wages which are necessary for the employees' subsistence and the minimum level of comfort. Fair wage is given on basis of equality as per what is right now the prices for particular job in the market, and living wage are the highest level that is maintaining the standard life. Article 43 says living wage for the workers. So our minimum wages act, our fair wage committee, all this have been based upon this article. It says that every employer's responsibility is that it should give the minimum wages to the employee, and if they are not able to give this minimum wages to employee, then their existence is of no use. So article 43 state that state shall endeavor to secure to legislation or economic organization or any other way to all workers, agriculture, industrial or otherwise, work, living wage, condition of work, ensuring a decent standard life and full enjoyment of leisure and social culture opportunities in particular. So this decent standard of life is somewhere is nothing but your living wage. In our minimum wages act, we have schedule. In that schedule we have part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is non-agriculture and agriculture, so that is also, so see, agriculture, industrial and otherwise, everything is covered here in minimum wages act. That is to promote cottage industries on an individual or cooperative basis in rural area. Next comes your very important 43A, participation of workers in the management of industries. Our Factories Act has got safety committee, which has got equal representative of employee and employer. Our Industrial Dispute Act has got working committee, which involves the equal representative of a male and equal representatives of employee and employer. We have grievance redressal machinery under Industrial Dispute Act, again having the equal number of employee and employer representatives. So when there are the equal number of employee and employer representative, it is nothing but allowing the participation of workers in management. Now, why participation of workers in management is important? Because the feeling of participation creates a feeling of belongingness among the employee. They feel associated. They feel that this industry, this company is mine, and hence the article 43A, which was inserted in the constitution by 42nd amendment, came into the existence, which makes and state to make sure that by a suitable legislation like we have Factories Act, Industrial Dispute Act, or in any other way to secure participation of the workers in the management undertakings and establishment. Article 47 says duty to raise the standard of living and improvement of health. So now this is also again related to somewhere assistance, okay, assistance, social security and so on. Standard of living is related to living wages. So the state shall regard raising of level of nutrition and standard of living of its people and improvement of public health as among its primary duties. So usually the central government and the state government keep on coming up with the schemes where they involve health checkup and so on. So that's the responsibility of the government to increase the standard. Right? So that was the principles which were based on socialist principle, or the article based on socialist principle. Now let's move to the Gandhian principle. So Gandhiji was the one who always believed in truth, non-violence, and he believed that if there are some evils in society, if there are any problems in society, it's not the human, it's not the employee because of which these evils are occurring. It's because the system is not proper. So in order to make this system work properly, you need to reconstruct the society, reconstruct the industry, reconstruct the management, and how, what all should be there. You need to maintain a discipline, you need to have wage determination, you should value the humans, you should value the workers as the source of income. They are not just the way of income. So these all principles were given by Gandhiji. Gandhiji also believed even the lowest category or lowest section of the society would be given importance. So we have federal system, state government and the central government. But other than this also we have the local government, which includes your panchayat and municipality. So this local government was introduced by Gandhian principle, who actually wanted the lowest part of the society to be participative. So what is Gandhian principle? They represent the program of reconstruction enunciated by Gandhi during the national movement. In order to fulfill the dreams of Gandhi, some of his ideas were included in directive principle. Article 40. Organization of village panchayat. So what is panchayat? You must have heard from your parents, or you belong to village. You must have heard that there is a panchayat in the village which makes the decision cumulative. There are the members in the panchayat who makes the decision on the behalf, right? People come, if they have any problem, they approach the panchayat and so on. So they are given the power. So state shall take a step to organize village panchayat and endow them with the such powers and authorities as may be necessary. So where do from this panchayat gets power and authority? It is from the state. It is from the government who give them power and authority. Section number 43B, which talks about promotion of cooperative societies, promotion of voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control, and professional management of cooperative society. So somewhere this is the Gandhiji's principle of participation of the workers, allowing them to function autonomously. So providing freedom while they function, that is the article number 43. 46, promotion of education and economic interest for the weaker section. You know, we have economically backward section or economically weak section. Nowadays, when you fill the PSU form, you can see this section, economically backward section or weaker section. Why this has been introduced? Like, though the people belong to the upper caste, it is not important that they would be always economically strong. So there can be an economically backward people, and it's very important to promote, help them in education, help their economic interest of weaker section. So Article 46 says that hence the EWS was introduced by the government. The state shall promote the special care, the educational and economic interest of the weaker section of the society, and in particular of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, shall protect them from social injustice and form of all forms of exploitation. India has been, before the Britisher, India has been the state, or India has been the country which was being based upon casteism. So the people belonging to the lower caste were exploited to greater extent. So in order to remove that evils, this article came into the existence. Article 47, just now we studied, duty of the raising the standard of living in the previous socialist principle. The same is here. It applies to Gandhian also. So Gandhiji also said that the system, the trade union, the organization should work in such a way that they improve the status of the person, improve the standard of the person, right? Humans, they should be treated as human. They should be dignified. Dignity should be made considered. 48, prohibit. He was against the slaughter of the cows and calves and other milch animals. So this was included in our directive principles of state policy. Next is your liberal intellectual policy, which is based on the ideology of liberalism. 44 article says that uniform civil code should be there in this country. Uniform civil code is how you should behave, what you should wear, how you should go, how you should do another n number of the activities. So we have the rules for public, we have the rules for public places, that we cannot spit, we cannot travel unnecessary, we cannot harm the public property and so on. But it was little difficult to bring out this into function. Why? Because India is having different cultures, different religions. So making this uniform code is difficult, because everyone worship a different god, everyone follow different culture. So uniform civil code is brought through rules and regulations, like we have traffic rules, we have some rules how to behave in public and so on. Article 45, free and compulsory education for children until they complete the age of 14 years. So this is again used in our Child Labor Act, which has prohibited every child's working below the 14 years. So after the 86 Constitutional Amendment Act 2002, Article 45 said that the state shall endeavor to provide early childhood care and education to the child below the 6 years. 48, now you don't have to go much in detail here. Article 48 says organization of agriculture and animal husbandry, development of the agriculture and developing the even the you can say farmers of the country. Article 48A, protection and improvement of forests and the wildlife, safeguarding the forest, wildlife, protecting animals, improving the environment for the people, for the animals living in the forest. growing the plants and so on, protection of monuments of historic interest like your Red Fort, like your Taj Mahal. We as an citizen of India, it's our duty and responsibility to make sure that we are not destructing them, we are not causing any harm. Usually we, whenever, you must have observed, when people go for the holidays, they try to like make this kind of draw diagrams on the walls or anything wherever they found. So this is not, we should not do this as a citizen. We should respect them, protect them. Separation of judiciary and executive. So judiciary is one thing which is judgment, like we have Supreme Court and High Court, which are the judiciary body in India. Executives may we have different body, like your parliament may we have president, we have prime minister, they all are executive, they actually execute the things. Finally, promotion of international security is important. So these were the important directive state policies, all important articles. A few of the amendments are, we have already studied them, but I will just let you know that it was in 42 second amendment 1976 that article 39 was introduced, opportunity for health, development of children. 39A was introduced. 43A for workers' participation was introduced, and to protect and improve safeguard of forest life was introduced. 44 added article to state minimize inequalities in status, facilities, opportunities, and income. It was introduced. 86th Amendment 2002 added the 11th fundamental duty. Just remember, it added the fundamental duty to the Article 21A and modified the subject matter of 45 and 86th Amendment Act necessitated these states to provide early childhood care and education. We have studied this also. 97th Amendment introduced the state to promote voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control, and professional cooperative. This was the complete directive of state policy. We have completed them. I hope you have understood. Do like session if you like it. You can always ask me doubts if you have any. Could be me in our next video. Thank you for watching.